happy Friday, and welcome to the Freedom from the Press podcast. My name is Jason Robertson, and I'm here with my partner in crime,
Todd Peterson. Thanks for joining us, folks. Jason, I don't know about you. Folks, I don't know about you as well. I am still riding a high from Donald Trump's resounding victory on Tuesday night. Oh, it is such a good time to be alive in America.
Oh my gosh. Electoral College, win. Popular vote, win. Senate, win. We're waiting on the House.
We got the House.
It's so close. And Todd and I were talking before the show. How funny is it that like all the states without ballot IDs or that are still counting are all the ones that are kind of going back and forth? It is hysterical, Todd.
Oh, man. And you know what? Donald Trump had to win. Everyone's been saying it. He had to win. It literally saved the country from ruin forever, as far as I can tell. Kamala would have gotten in the White House, would have given citizenship to all the illegals, and there's no such thing as a swing state anymore. There's no such thing as an electoral map anymore that Republicans could win. This had to happen. We would have lost free speech on X, on Rumble, everywhere. He had to win. But man, Jason, today's show is dedicated to the glorious meltdowns. The next best thing about Trump's victory are the delicious, salty tears of all of the libs.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was going to say, Todd, first we ought to give a shout out to all the people that joined us on our Election Day live stream. I mean, we started a little early. We started a little after 6. I think we went to like midnight or something.
We were there for a while.
Then it was funny because we're like, this isn't going to end up getting resolved. So let's call it and we'll circle back. And then I laid on the couch with the TV on, and then I saw the votes just keep going, and they're counting, and they're counting. And then it was, there's this many votes left to count, and the lead is this much, and then they start calling. Todd, what time did you go to bed election night or the next morning?
2:30. I mean, I stayed up for Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, calling it for Trump. I listened to Trump talk. You and I could have stayed on the air. I mean, there was no sleeping as far as I was concerned. I was committed to watching this happen in real time. But you and I were talking like, how did they call Pennsylvania that night? They had a ways to go, but it was 88, 89, 90%. It looks impossible for Kamala to win. Boom, call Pennsylvania. And then you knew the dominoes would fall.
Right. Man.
Was there Tuesday. Thanks for joining us again, Kagan Girl, over on Rumble. Folks, you can catch the show live every Friday on Rumble. Our channel is the American Tribune. Join us over there. Our community is getting bigger and bigger every week. It's fantastic.
Oh, we love it. And I think something's goofy with the Facebook because it's not showing the names. But we got Facebook users. Sorry, we don't know your name. It is over. Grow up. I got to say, liberals, for all the garbage you guys talk for the last 4 years, you all take your L. The American people spoke, and they're done with your nonsense. It is crazy. Oh, man, they are all just, we're not getting names on the Facebook stuff unless you're getting Todd.
I got to say, though, Donald Trump would have been sent to prison for the rest of his life. People like Jason and I that just try to make a living on social media, we're out on the internet, our voice would have been silenced. Nothing good would have happened. Jason, anyone that says it's time to come together and be unified and move on, Kamala lost, no. I am not looking for unity. The American people spoke. Freedom won. I am not compromising with these people that would have ruined all of our lives on purpose. The same people today that are, Kimmel's crying, we got a clip of that. Sonny Hostin's out there calling blacks and Hispanics racist and sexist because they have nothing else to go on at this point. These people revealed how much they hate you. I'm not compromising with them. They lost. We won. Moving on.
Right. Oh, man, and the comments are hot. Although I got to say, Facebook's acting weird, folks. Normally it shows the name, but so it's just giving us the comment, not the actual name. Mentally ill humans don't handle difficult situations well. Fact check true. Joined Rumble, forgot my password. Don't forget your password. Facebook is gonna be, they will be censoring. This one I love. Don't forget to turn back your clocks to 2% interest rates and $1.80 gas. Oh my gosh. Oh, and good broadcast. This is somebody that joined us. We might need you to type your name on there. Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, K-Gun Girl's right too. We want justice. Like, it was crazy.
I gotta say, Jason, there's not a lot we can go into, even though there seems to be a lot more information out there circulating Twitter. Can't talk about 2020 so much. But isn't it amazing to watch these leftists try to do the math in their head? They're like, where'd all the votes go from 2020? It must have been a blue malfunction. The same people that voted in 2020 voted in 2024. That's all I'm going to say.
All right, yeah. We might need to touch on this in the Rumble only part. But yeah, the meltdowns are phenomenal where it's like, let me see, Barack got 65 million, then 63 million, and Hillary got 64 million, and then Joe Biden got 82 million, and then Kamala got 65 or whatever it's going to end up being. And it's like, that's weird.
Weird. Yeah, they all showed up. Don't worry. Yeah, there's so much copium out there, though. They're all trying to figure out, like, what went wrong. And in their analysis of what went wrong, they're like, white men, uneducated women, misogynist blacks, racist Hispanics. They're exactly what they're saying, what went wrong. That's why we won, because we're tired of this nonsense. Quit hating on everybody. Your policies are terrible. You're dividing the country along race and sex, two immutable characteristics. I don't care what background you are. Everyone is welcome on Team Trump, and that is exactly what happened.
Well, yeah, and it's so funny because it's like the party of tolerance, which we're gonna, we're gonna show some clips here. They are the most evil, vile people, and I hate to say it, but it's largely rich, white, liberal, both men and women, and it's like crazy. The women have lost their mind. I mean, well, let me stand corrected. Like Trump did fine with women; he got 54% of the white woman vote. But the crazy liberal women, I mean, they're going on a sex trek, which I think we're going to cover that. Todd, what video do we start with? I am just so excited. I have had too much morning coffee.
Hey, I got a American Tribune mug, folks. Jason's sporting the American Tribune hat. I am repping my own show. It's on Rumble only, the American Tribune Live with Todd Peterson. But we're sporting all sorts of merch today that you can get at the AmericanTribuneStore.com. We got some great deals over there, some great merchandise. If you want to support the program, support us, support what we do, and you want some cool Trump merch along the way or Make America Great Again merch along the way, check out the AmericanTribuneStore.com. But Jason, should we start with Morning Joe? You knew he wouldn't handle this well at all. It's even better than we imagined. The meltdowns, like we said, are glorious.
Oh, Morning Joe.
Morning Joe.
Everybody grab
me for a second.
Take a big pull of your coffee as we enjoy Morning Joe Tears.
A few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, somebody who was going to be voting for Kamala Harris came up to me and said, "Oh my God, Trump's going to win." I go, "Why is that?" He goes, I went to the grocery store. Butter's over $3. I kind of laughed and I said, "Well, that's kind of reductive, isn't it?" Said it to myself. To him, I smiled and I said, "Good point." But it actually, everything.
Wait, did he just admit he lied?
He did admit he lied, and he's already like, the body language is like, I'm picturing like Ryan Stewie just crying and rocking.
I just lied.
I just lied. I lied.
What we're hearing after the election is,
I'm just saying, the $7.
What's that?
The $7.
What's that? Butter is $7?
Yeah.
What? Is it framed in gold? Okay. Anyway,
where you go.
Look at Mika's face. Like, are you so stupid you don't know butter $7? Oh my God, I love this.
Okay, well, yeah, okay.
$7.
Anyway, my point is this, Willie. The rent is too damn high, and this guy was saying the cost of butter is way damn too high.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was a bit reductive. It ended up being just the point that if you look at the cost of groceries, if you look at the cost of gas, if you look at the cost of things compared to 4 years ago, it was a very simple answer for working class Americans. Things just cost too much.
Morning, Joe. Welcome to the program. Where have you been for 4 years? You lied to us and said the Biden economy is working. Bidenomics, it's working for the American people. These losers. Oh, we got Carrie in the chat. Good morning, Carrie on YouTube.
Carrie Mansky, she does our emails. We love Carrie. We should have Carrie hop on sometime. She's a hoot. I haven't talked to her forever in person.
Yeah, well, good morning, Carrie. Could you be more out of touch? You just realized that things are expensive in America, Morning Joe?
You know, I talk about my dad, and I pray someday my dad watches the podcast. But he sits there watching these knuckleheads like Morning Joe all the time. and he believes this stuff. And we've been talking about how the inflation numbers they've been lying about, real inflation's like 20, 30, 40%, depending what category you're talking about. And then you find Joe, after all this stuff, and people have been complaining about all this, he's been reporting on inflation. His wife, Mika's his wife, corrects him and says, butter is $8 or $7. And he's like, what's it made out of gold? Dude, how out of touch are you? And at what point do people seeing that in 1 2-minute clip? He said, okay, I don't know that inflation was this bad. I didn't know that people cared stuff's too expensive. And I lied to somebody that I was chatting with in the store. It is insane.
Man, and people believe this.
Right. Francis, wake up, Joe. Here's what we're going to say, too. I mean, one of the conclusions you're going to get to at the end. Democrats are just waking up to this alternate reality. Like, real Americans are hurting. Real Americans are broke. Real Americans can't afford groceries. Real Americans can't afford their property taxes. I mean, all this stuff is really happening, and you've been denying it. And the elites are still denying it, because we're going to get into some of this stuff. They think we're racist because we voted for Trump.
No, imagine that. It's because of prices too high. And Morning Joe thinks he's so smart coming to that conclusion. I figured it out. Now I know why Trump won. Let me tell you why Trump won. What is it? 52% of the country that voted for Trump? We already figured it out like 4 years ago, Joe.
Right.
But here's the thing, Jason. I made this point on Twitter and on my show yesterday. I am so optimistic for the next, I'm going to say 12 years, assuming we don't explode the national debt and there's a huge crisis or some sort of manufactured crisis out there. But let's just say America keeps running. Nobody is going back. If you voted for Donald Trump in 2024, you will never vote Democrat again. Your eyes have been woken up. You see that the media lies to you. You see that the establishment hates you through all of their policies and all of their rhetoric. Trump's not going to lose a single vote moving forward. And if it's J.D. Vance or Vivek or DeSantis, doesn't matter. They're voting Republican. And just like Morning Joe admitted here, he woke up a little bit. He's like, this wasn't working for me. There are going to be countless Democrat voters that still voted for Harris. And look, we welcome you to Team Trump. Come on the America First movement with us. But over the next 4 years, they're going to realize, he didn't ban abortion. He didn't take away IVF. He made the economy work again. He secured the border. He stopped foreign wars. And I don't listen to the media anymore because they lied to me and they're wrong about everything. How many more Americans that voted for Harris are going to come over to our camp in the next 4 years? Like, Dems must be panicking right now. The corporate media establishment is panicking right now. We are only going to grow this movement, and I don't see how it stops. Like, we are going to get more votes in 2028 in the America First movement than we did in 2024. Like, New York, New Jersey, all these blue states, formerly deep blue states, almost got Trump's electoral votes this time. And I think next go around in 2028, Jason, we get even more electoral votes because there are no new Democrat voters getting formed right now.
No, and it was really fascinating too, as you get right up to election day, Hispanics males turned out for Trump.
Yeah.
And now think about that. And so Reagan let them all in, which shout out to Will Tanner. He wrote a great piece about some of the good and some of the bad Reagan did as president this week on the American Tribune.news. But he let in all, and here's one of these things. He let in all these Hispanics, right? And he made them citizens. And at the time, he was supposed to be part of some bigger border security thing that never materialized. But those Hispanic voters are conservatives. They want less government. They want less regulation. They want lower taxes. They go to church. They raise their family. They
don't want illegal cutting in front of the line.
Right. Yeah. And like the Democrats with all the crazy stuff and the lefties and gender stuff and all that, they aren't. And this election, I think we had a big breakthrough with all of the with all the Hispanic community and even like the gay community. You saw a lot of gays come out right at the end supporting Trump, and they called themselves the normal gays, which the normal gays were always like, they were always part of this, right? Like, if your neighbor's gay, you don't really care. Like, you do you, right, bro? Like, I can think it's a sin. I cannot agree with that lifestyle. But when you start putting pride flags all over your yard and doing, storybook hour or whatnot, like, now we're getting into like, are you kidding me? You want to gender transition kids or anything? Like, no, like, hey, you want to be gay? Go be gay. We don't really care. So it's, Todd, I'm so excited.
So excited. Yeah, people are waking up. Jason, we got to get to more meltdowns. It's all too good. Let us try. Here's another good one at MSNBC. You knew this network would not handle it well. And then we got to get to The View. The View has just some incredible moments.
Pascal, your thoughts this morning?
Well, first, I think we have to acknowledge that Donald Trump knows our country better than we do. I think he figured out that anger and, frankly, fear were way more powerful than appealing to people's better angels. That anger and fear were going to work in this election, whether you're afraid of immigrants or afraid of people who are trans. He figured that out. And I think we all thought,
this is why they lost. We'll let her finish her insightful analysis here, but she said that Trump ran on a campaign of fear and anger. Jason, I don't know about you. I watched enough Kamala Harris rallies. The only thing she said was Trump. You need to get agitated and hyperventilate over Trump. Trump's going to do this. Trump's going to do that. I broke down on Twitter the IVF hoax. Trump's going to take away IVF. And then you have this grand announcement. Hey, I'm going to have government fund IVF because we're a pro-family party. Like, complete opposite, complete lies. They only ran on hatred and division and fear. And you got Claire over here saying, well, it's because Trump doesn't like immigrants. He doesn't like the trans community. He doesn't like the gay community. Like, this is why people stopped listening to you, MSNBC, mainstream media. It's all garbage. There are people in every camp. How do you say he's anti-immigrant when half the Hispanic community in America votes for Donald Trump? Like, it's all BS.
everyone's better angels would prevail. Turns out the better angels went on vacation when Donald Trump came down the escalator, and they haven't returned. And listen, credit to Susie Wiles and Chris Savita. Credit. And by the way, his persecution, the majority of America believes he was persecuted, not prosecuted.
Right.
And there's no question that our grip on, hey, we've got to make sure those same rules apply to everyone. We've got to make sure the rule of law applies to every American, no matter who you are or how powerful you are. Turns out that's not true.
I hope to hold those people accountable. There are a lot of people in power that are in for a rude awakening in January 2025.
Well, and I got to say, I'm bummed Facebook's not showing the comments, so he can't give credit to people who are making the comments. I apologize, folks. Studio's acting a little weird. 70% of Americans claimed America was heading in the wrong direction. These condescending idiots can't comprehend Americans. We're talking about them. Yeah, I mean, Claire's up there like you're not an American, you know, like it's remarkable. These people don't get it, you know.
And I got to say, she referenced what Susan Wiles. Jason, it wasn't that long ago that Mark Cuban, a surrogate of the Harris campaign, blasted women in Trump's orbit, saying he doesn't want anyone strong and intelligent. He's intimidated by strong women. He surrounds himself with weak women. Folks, I don't know if you caught the news, but Donald Trump is going to have the first, I repeat, the first female White House chief of staff. Simply stunning stuff. Like, you don't know how much they lie to you. The first female chief of staff. A, I don't care that she's a woman, but B, it's happening, and the left doesn't know what to do about it.
Right.
I like this comment. Did we show this one, Jason?
No, this is good.
We have a smarter audience. There are smarter people watching Freedom from the Press podcast than anybody that goes on air on MSNBC. Long read, but lists exactly why Democrats lost. Democrats, if you're wondering why America voted for Trump, allow me to explain. The truth is, the American people are sick of your rhetoric. Fact check, true. You ruined our nation and our culture. Fact check, true. You openly mocked, belittled, and discriminated against us, then called us all sorts of awful names, defiled and corrupted all of our great institutions. The list goes on and on and on. Great post. I wish we could give that person credit.
Yeah. Well, and Todd, you hit the nail on the head. One of our goals with Freedom from the Press, we've been doing this for a year, and it's been fun because we appreciate folks that have been with us the whole time and grinding. I mean, we got 40 live on Rumble right now for two yahoos from Minnesota to get people to go to a platform they're unfamiliar with, to log on, to watch us on a Friday morning. Like, that is spectacular. And the comments on Facebook are just these are just way smarter people than our political elites. These guys are, I mean, they're tuned in. Like this one here, Joe and Micah should make a sincere, lengthy apology to President Trump and Vance. They both owe their viewers a huge apology for their lies, exaggerations, and speaking down to their audience. If their advertisers were smart, they would apologize to the audience in the shows. It affects their customers. Right, they're wrong. Yeah, I mean, we like to use the line, share this content with people you might not politically agree with. And like we talk, several of my best friends are Democrats, and I encourage them to watch the show, and they get a little mad because I'll call Democrats retards. Oh wait, we're 23 minutes in before we used it. but so, and I'll be like, because you guys just like, you're watching Joe Scarborough, who doesn't understand that the economy was bad and people couldn't afford stuff. We've been saying this for 3 years, Joe Scarborough. Like, Todd, I think it's time for you and I to take over his time slot.
I would love that. Honestly, I saw something on Twitter. It can't be true, but I think Milei in Argentina said that Elon's going to buy CNN. Short of that happening, though, MSNBC, CNN, I think they're bust in 4 years. What are they going to do? Keep pushing Trump hoaxes? Like, people are done with that. They're just not buying it. You're going to always have 20% of the American population that gets agitated over the next thing. Oh, my goodness, Trump said that or did that. Like, but 20% is not going to cut it. That's not going to pay the bills. Joy Reid's done. Morning Joe is done. Their audiences are going to shrink and dwindle and turn into nothing. I don't know, Jason. Like, what's the timeline for MSNBC to be like, and we're closing? And CNN's just like, and we're done.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing that really encouraged me, and I think that's going to lead to that. And we've talked about this on the podcast. We've done deep dives in it, previous episodes. But 2016, we had President Trump, who was a populist president who really wanted to do things for the American citizens. 2016, there were the Bernie bros. And I'm going to say Bernie is a moron with horrible ideas, but I always felt Bernie wanted what's best for the American people. He just had horrible ideas. It would have never worked. But from where it's coming from, I could have understood it. And 2016 should have been the reckoning where Democrats and Republicans alike realize their elites are out of touch, don't know what's going on. And Bernie, when Hillary stole the election from him, Bernie took the knee and took the book deal, and he became a multimillionaire. And I think 2024 election could be one of those points where somebody like my dad, who sits there watching CNN and MSNBC all day, is going to go, okay, they were wrong about everything. They lied to me about all this stuff. I mean, think about it. They were on there saying Trump is Hitler. Now they're saying, like, thank goodness that Joe Biden said there's going to be a peaceful transfer of power. If you really thought Trump was Hitler and a fascist, you should be up in arms. You should be asking for something 10 times worse than January 6th. They lied to you, folks. They lied. They know Trump wasn't a fascist. They know he wasn't Hitler. They lied to you.
Yeah, I want to just double down on that point, Jason. And then we've got Mike in the house. We want to introduce Mike, part of the American Tribune team, to you guys. In July, after the assassination attempt, they all wished Donald Trump well. This week, they said there will be a peaceful transition of power. Like Jason said, you don't wish Hitler well. You aren't glad he survived an assassination attempt. You don't say there's going to be a peaceful transition because that's how the system works. Like, you can't have it both ways. You can't call him these names, accuse him of these awful, awful things. Oh, and by the way, the voters elected him, so we're just going to hand it over to him. Like, folks, if that doesn't wake you up on the absolute lying media and establishment, political ruling class, I don't know. What will? What will?
Well, and I got to say, I'm going to give a shout out to the people that are screaming in the videos we're going to make fun of once we get past these, that are like, oh my God, my life is over. Those people actually believed it. Mm-hmm. You know, all these elite media people that aren't up in arms crying out for something. If you really thought he was Hitler and a fascist, you should not be on there going like, oh, let's have a peaceful transfer of power. Nope. I mean, two things can't be true. Jeez, yeah, I got to say, Todd, that's a heck of a hat.
Hey, AmericanTribuneStore.com.
Giddy up. Hey, do we bring Mikey on?
Mike looks ready to rock some American Tribune merch. Mike, let's bring you on here. Let's change some things up. Add him to the stage. We got to move some stuff around here. Ready, set. Whoa.
Whoa.
That was a little disorienting there for a minute.
I hope you don't have anyone prone to epileptic seizures. But here we go. We got Mike in the house.
How's everybody doing?
We are doing fantastic. Now, for those who don't know, if you watch our live stream, we're going to start introducing some people on the podcast that work with us on our American Tribune properties. Mike runs all our social media properties on Facebook, especially, and we introduce him to the audience, and they seem to like him, and he seemed to have fun with it. So we're going to bring him on, and Ellis. We'll bring Will on here just for little 10-minute segments, and we're super excited. And for those who don't know, Mike, how would you describe yourself politically?
Politically, I have little trust in the government and don't really agree with a lot that's going on. So it's kind of hard to put, because I definitely side, on the conservative side, but I don't always agree with the things that they actually do. I agree with what they pretend to stand for.
So you're like us, where you see the establishment Republican Party that says we're going to do this, and then they don't do it. And you're like, holy cow, Trump hopefully can get some of this stuff done.
We can hope that. He's a little bit different, right? It doesn't look like that he can be somebody that can be bought. So I'm fairly positive everybody in office is just bought by a large corporation that's pushing some agenda for them to make money. And once you get some dirt on somebody, you can make them do whatever you want.
Yeah. I want to cut you off, Mike, because I got Robert. Robert, I think you joined me yesterday. You are my New York Jew that voted for Hitler 3 times, but you can go to the AmericanTribuneStore.com, the AmericanTribuneStore.com, my hat, the American Tribune hat, the American Tribune mug. We've got content out there. And then, Mike, I'll let you speak again. I love this story, Jason. We were promoting some content that was accused of supporting some pretty awful people. And so our third-party vendor nuked our account. They said, we're not going to sell that stuff. So if you want to see some spicy merch, head over to the AmericanTribuneStore.com.
Well, and I got to say, I was getting ready to drop the link to the store. And we can drop it, it can go across the platforms. I think Todd's got it in the descriptions too. And I'm like, I can't drop this because Facebook and YouTube will call us bad.
We don't want to spam our Facebook and YouTube.
Right.
But I think,
Mike, what have you seen from content reaction? You go through a lot of the Facebook comments and stuff. So, what's your takeaway from the election?
My takeaway is crazy. So it's really wild to see all of those people on the other side who are constantly preaching tolerance and accept everybody and equal rights and all that stuff. But now that somebody else won, they're flipping out. They're calling people wild names and making just outrageous accusations about people. And it's incredible to see that group of people who are so, everybody needs to be treated equally. As soon as it's not going their way, they're like, no, we're not going to treat them equally. No, they're bad. They're evil. They're the monsters. It's just they put up a big fence, and you're either on their side or you're on the other side. There's no in between ground, or hey, we can have a small disagreement and kind of work from there. But now it's lash out, name calling, screaming, watching all of them cry on TV. What are we crying about? I mean, even so too, right? You guys on the other side, you have four years to build to something new and come back with a stronger candidate and do better. It's not the end all.
Well, it is when you believe the lies, and that's what we're trying to break through. You are crying because you have believed the mainstream corporate state media lies for most of your life. Scott Adams makes a good point. You've been lied to since the 40s, 50s, and 60s. So they actually think bad things will happen. I think we need to post receipts. Everyone that's saying, oh, my life is over, I'm not going to be able to vote, I won't be able to, do this and that to the kids in my body. In 4 years, when none of that happens, just show them what they said. And did any of this happen? Did this come true? Wake up, folks.
Yeah, I mean, and we can, collect all that data because everything on the internet is pretty much forever now. So you'll be able to find all the stuff they've seen.
Oh my gosh. And it's funny too, because Mike, he always he posts the articles and the contents. And by the way, if you ever see a typo or something that was spelled wrong, Mike Hughes, we'll send us a note. We'll give you his phone number. You can call him and tell him hey, Mike, you typed this wrong. But it was funny because Mike would look through the comments leading up to the election. Mike, can you say pretty much resoundingly nobody liked Kamala?
Yeah.
Potentially the worst candidate in the history of candidates.
We'll go with at least nobody wanted. There may have been some people who were okay, kind of like her, but that didn't want for sure.
Oh, that's spectacular.
I
All
like.
right, what else you got
about-
cooking, Mike? Anything else fun and exciting?
Oh, not too much. I really like the Facebook user said poor Jimmy Kimmel, and we did have a fun article about him breaking down, crying on the TV.
Mike, when was the last time you cried?
That's not something I do too often. It's I should probably get a little more in touch with my emotions, but kind of not my jam.
So you're saying that a political election won't cause you to cry?
No.
In front of millions of people? Oh, no. Carrie's volunteering to help with the typos.
That's very nice of you, Carrie.
We're going to dock Mike's pay. We'll send it over to you, Carrie.
I better get better at it.
Mike, I got to ask this because I don't know about this. I don't know anything about your political leanings in the past. Have you voted before?
Yeah, I've voted before. I almost always vote libertarian.
Fair enough. And so I think Mike's a great case study. Donald Trump, part of his success, his campaign was flawless, but it convinced people like Mike. Because Mike, who'd you vote for in 2024?
I did change my vote and go for a Trump this year.
Yeah, if you're politically homeless, if you're libertarian, I've got a lot of libertarian bent to myself. You look around the landscape, though, and you're like, Donald Trump, bringing in Ron Paul, Thomas Massey, Elon Musk, Joe Rogan, people that wouldn't have voted for Trump in the past, like Mike, too. Like, there is a huge camp now in this America First movement, and includes people like Mike that never voted for him before, people that had never voted, period, before. I love what is happening. That's why I'm so optimistic.
It's nice to see. I mean, I've seen a lot of people that I've been talking to that have switched and are like, well, we're going to give the vote to Trump because they'd rather see Trump. And we know voting for libertarian that we don't really have a best chance, but it's nice to put that vote out there saying like, hey, we're tired of the two-party system. We want something different. But right now it really felt like, hey, we can't lose this.
Kamala has to lose. Yep.
Yes.
I like how Mike phrased that. We don't have a very good chance of winning this. There is a 0% chance.
There's a 0% chance, but if enough people eventually did vote for somebody different, we could potentially see. And I mean, there'd be so much to change and work. It would be a long process, and it's been a long process. I'm not the biggest fan of a two-party system,
especially when they're both bought by big corporations,
yes,
big pharma, millionaires. Yeah, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we have the America First movement, Make America Great Again, Make America Healthy Again, President Trump, big tent, bring in your disaffected Democrats. If you're a Democrat that doesn't like all the crazy, come on over. The doors are open.
Yes.
All right. On that note, do we get Mike out of here? He's got work to do.
I got work to do. I got things to post, content to look through.
Spell check to run. You got it, Mike.
Yeah, everybody spell check me and, send me a comment. Let me know I made a hiccup. Well, we're always looking to grow and do better.
Somewhere my wife is somewhere my wife is going, Mike and spell checks. Please, for the love of God. All right. We'll talk to you later, Mikey. See ya.
Bye, guys. All the fans out there, have a nice day.
All right, Jason, we're going to do a little bit of this while Mike is heading out. There we go. I want to get to this comment here, Jason. So we got the Schwartz over on Rumble. May the Schwartz be with you, my man. Watch that MSNBC clip a couple times. How did Joe admit that he lied? So let me spell this out. He lied just because he was on MSNBC. When he admits that butter is $3 and then he had no idea, do you recall any of his broadcasts for the last 3 years, Schwartz? Do you recall him telling you that Bidenomics was working, that people are running because they hate blacks, hate Hispanics, hate women, hate everybody? Trump's campaign was full of fear and anger. He never mentioned the economy was bad. He never said that might be a motivation for Trump supporters. He defiled you with disgusting names and pejoratives for 3 years. And then after Trump wins, he's pretending to be honest about, you know what? This economy is not working for people. I just went to the grocery store for the first time and prices are really high. Maybe they're onto something. That is the lie. He covered up Joe Biden's failing economy. He covered up Joe Biden's senility. He said it was the best version of Joe we've ever had as recently as like May. They lie to you about everything, the Schwartz. And so that is the lie. Is it explicit? Did he say I was wrong? No. But that broadcast that we aired versus the broadcast he's done in the past, he never admitted the Trump economy or the Biden economy was bad. And that's why we supported Donald Trump, not because we're full of hate and anger and racism.
Well, and that's to expand on that. So Todd and I create digital content for a living. We do podcasts, we do written stuff, we do all sorts of different things, right? Joe Scarborough is paid millions of dollars to report the news every day to an audience of millions. That's his job. And you're telling me if you are completely oblivious to the fact that groceries went way up, you're either incompetent or you're lying. So Schwartz, I guess, to give it an out, when you say, where did Joe admit he lied? Maybe he didn't admit he lied. Maybe he just admitted he is the most incompetent person I have ever seen at a job. Maybe that's it. But I mean, you're left with two things. Either he lied to you and he knew it, or he is utterly, totally incompetent. And that's why you watch Freedom from the Press.
And based on his track record, we have debunked the Trump hoaxes. We have played other broadcasts. He has a full crew. He's got millions upon millions of dollars creating the show, producing the show. To tell me that it was incompetence that missed the price of groceries for the last 3 years, you're asking me to believe in absurdity. So yes, Morning Joe lied to you.
Ugh. Where do we go next, Todd? God, this is fun.
Where do we go here? Should we start some liberal tears?
Liberal tears. I love it. Oh my God, this is my favorite.
Can I? So there's a couple of videos, Jason, of them shaving their heads. I honestly don't. What am I missing here? Why do they shave their heads in these protest videos? Is there a reason behind it, or are they just like that weird?
There is, and I got to look up the term, and somebody in the chat might be able to help me. So in South Korea, there was like a 4C movement, they called it, or a 4B movement. I got to look it up. I apologize. I should know. But basically, the women who live in a patriarchal system, like we're talking women can't own property, don't get to vote, like any of that stuff. They started this protest movement where they're going to stop sleeping with men. So they weren't going to get married. They weren't going to sleep with men. They weren't going to do any of that. Oh, 4B, Facebook user.
God, we have a smart audience. Thank you. I wish we had your name to say thank you.
All right. I'll try to pull it up on the Facebook page so we can give credit where it's due, or type it in the chat. But anyway, so the 4B movement started out, and it was like a TikTok thing. And it's based, and they were America in the 1900s, like where women couldn't own house, property, any of that stuff. We have come so far beyond that. Like the only right women can maybe say they lost is a nationwide abortion ban, but Minnesota didn't matter anyways. If you're from Minnesota, you didn't lose nothing. So liberal women are going on a sex strike. They are shaving their head. They're saying they're going to stop doing makeup. They're going to stop doing these things, and they're going to stop sleeping with men. And I got to say, it is the funniest thing ever, because it's like for decades, we have been telling you to have some self-pride, to quit painting yourself up fake, to quit sleeping with every man you know. And you wouldn't need an abortion if you quit sleeping with these low-class men that don't want to raise the children. And now they're doing it as a protest. Oh.
And what's funny is women, let me know in the comments, women, you don't put makeup on for men as you do to impress other women anyways. Like, it's all a lie. It's all a lie.
Oh, so that was Jason Yankee who had the 4B comment over on the American Tribune Facebook page. Thanks, Jason, and thanks for tuning in. Oh, my God, look at this.
I turned down the music. I don't want to get a copyright strike.
Right. Oh, my God. Look at this.
I mean, does she think we care? As a man, I don't lose out on any of this stuff. Like, you are only hurting yourself. I don't know what they're trying to prove, but good job. Trump made you shave your head because you're so brainwashed.
Trump made you shave your head and be celibate, which is what you were protesting. I just love it.
All right. I think we got more here. We got to do Jimmy Kimmel, man. This is Jimmy Kimmel crying on national TV. Incredible.
To be honest, it was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go, for healthcare, for our climate, for science, for journalism, for justice, for free speech. It was a terrible night for poor people, for the middle class, for seniors who rely on Social Security, for our allies in Ukraine, for NATO, for...
I like that he gets most choked up for our allies in Ukraine.
I was going to say that's what made his voice crack.
Oh, Ukraine.
The truth and democracy and decency. And it was a terrible night for everyone who voted against him. And guess what? It was a bad night for everyone who voted for him, too. You just don't realize it yet.
I think we could spend the entire show breaking down every single word and saying, this is how you're wrong. This is how he's lying to you. Like, every single thing he mentioned there is just a complete mischaracterization of what that Trump victory means.
Yeah, I got to say, too, like, we expose media lies every week on Freedom from the Press. Todd exposes media lies on his 2 shows a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays at the American Tribune Live. By the way, go over and subscribe to that channel. We love that channel. We love the work Todd's doing over there. But all of this is a thing, and we debunked every one of these hoaxes that Jimmy Kimmel just laid out. And this just in, the reason why we hate Hollywood elites, you should be out there telling jokes right now. Like, go ahead and make fun of Trump working at McDonald's and how he got a promotion from a garbage man to president. Like, do that. Don't be wailing and crying on TV because your preferred political candidate, who is awful, lost.
Yeah, just be honest.
Didi's in the house, too.
Didi. But again, save the receipts, because in 4 years, every single thing he said will be exposed as a complete lie. And that's all it is. He's not just wrong, he's lying. And he knows he's lying. But in 4 years, none of that's going to happen. And we'll say, Jimmy, you said this. Will you apologize to the American people for deceiving them about Trump's victory?
Right. And now, Todd, I'm going to be really careful here, okay? Because I know we're not Rumble only. But do you find it interesting how all the Hollywood elites and people in the music industry especially came out and started supporting Kamala Harris? And now there's rumors they've been paid. By the way, the Kamala Harris campaign still owes $20 million. They're $20 million in the hole. After $1 billion to spend and getting your ass kicked, she still owes $20 million. But does anybody else think it's odd? Todd, what happened right before all these people came out and supported?
I don't even want to say it, but there were allegations, rumors, stories of weird parties, and
I believe there's been charges about them, haven't there?
Are there charges now? See,
Well,
I'm
for
afraid
Diddy.
to say anything. I'm asking questions, be like, I don't know, Facebook.
Right, yeah. Huh. You know, if I had my conspiracy theory hat on, Todd, I would say it's ironic that the arrest of Diddy immediate and subsequently following all these things happen. We'll talk more on Rumble, folks, on the Rumble only part.
I mean, and then are they in these positions because of participation? I mean, is there a reason why Jimmy Kimmel got to host late night and not some other comedian? I don't know. I'm just asking questions. I don't know.
No kidding.
All
And
right.
I got to give a shout out to Didi. To both of you, I just wanted to tell you how much I enjoyed our time together on election night. It was like watching with a group of friends. I got to say, part of my vision when I did this, I do some podcasting with Wayne Dupree, and I'm trying to get him on board with it too. Folks, it's important to understand you're not alone. You know, for the longest time, they tried to make us normal Americans, whether you're Republican or Democrat, think you're alone. And part of what we're trying to do with the American Tribune and Freedom from the Press is say, hey, this is how people are lying. And this is designed to be interactive. And we love when we see like people on the chat engaging with each other, or like we just had somebody drop a note, like we didn't know something and they knew. And like building a community is really important. And that's what we're trying to do on the American Tribune properties. And we love and appreciate you guys being a part of that.
It's so trite to say, you know, we appreciate you and this show's not possible without you, but like, that's the truth. Like, this podcast is made possible by you, and we love the engagement. We love that you join us every week. You share your insights. Like, again, we learn from you. get to build some conversations off of what you're chatting. So it is all awesome. I can't believe we've been doing it for over a year now too, Jason.
That's crazy. I remember the first show. It was like we hit like 50 views. We're like, yeah. Now we'll get like 3,000-4,000 or whatever, and we get 50 people live that take time out of their day just on Rumble to watch us is just super awesome. And even on the other platforms, Facebook and we know a lot of people like Facebook, but folks, if I don't plug it enough, like eventually Facebook's going to crack down on things we say, and there's even things we've alluded to on here that we'll have to talk about in the Rumble only section because Facebook just doesn't like it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jason, the meltdowns continue. This is Sonny Hostin.
Oh my God.
Morning Joe admitted that he lied. He admitted that he was wrong. The View will never admit they were wrong. They are correct on everything, on every moral position. Sonny Hostin delivers her insights into why Donald Trump won. Here we go.
Is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump, uneducated white women, is my understanding. You have Latino men actually voting more for him, and you have, and black men was not the story. We're not the story here because they voted almost 80% for the vice president. Right. So why do you think that uneducated white women voted against their reproductive health freedoms, and why do you think Latino men voted in favor of someone that's going to deport, says he's going to deport the majority of his...
Why are these people so stupid? That's what Sonny Hostin is asking there. She hates you. And again, this is why we mock and ridicule and shame and don't want unity, because these people, had they won power on Tuesday night, do you think they would reach across the aisle for us? No way in hell. But just despicable comments from Sonny.
Now, let me talk about two things, too. And women in the chat, you can let us know. Conservative women, generally speaking, abortion isn't a big deal because you aren't sleeping around having sex with dudes you don't want to have a baby with, and you're worried about abortion. You kind of like stop before the baby's created, or use protection or whatever. Like, that's why it's not their issue. But you also have kids and are raising a family and just bought groceries. I could be completely wrong, but I think that's that. And Hispanic men, I want you to, if you pay attention to what she said, they voted for somebody who's going to deport you. Sonny Hostin draws the conclusion that illegal immigrants voted, or all Hispanic men came in the country illegal. We love legal immigrants. I would rather have a legal immigrant from these crap hole countries that came here the right way, that understands America, that's not sitting on welfare, that wants to build their American dream. I would rather have them than any member of this panel. Everybody on that panel is entitled, is elite. They are awful. And for them to denigrate like legal citizens that voted, or to insinuate that conservatives want to get rid of legal citizens. No, if you came here right and you're working hard and you're contributing, that's not who we're deporting. If you're over here freeloading or committing crimes, pack your bags, you're gone.
Why is this so hard? Yeah, it's just the condescension, though. Like I said before, nobody's watching this. Nobody believes this anymore. They hate what is getting spewed. The View will lose people watching it. MSNBC will. More people are waking up to just the outright hatred and the patronizing and condescending tone. Uneducated white women, as if not going to college. I hate the credentialism on the left too, Jason. As if not going to college makes you a dummy. If you voted for Donald Trump, I would wager you're already smarter and wiser than any Kamala Harris supporter, because you saw through the BS and you can see the big picture. Like, here's what a Trump victory means to this country and why we need it. If you voted for Kamala Harris and you got a PhD and 5 masters, I'm sorry, those degrees are worthless. You can't even see what's right in front of your face.
I got to tell a little personal story with that too. So I got my first job in like 1990 in retail, Sears Roebuck and Company. And I worked retail, and I was working up through the chains, and I moved to different retailers. And I was at a big box retailer, and I was one of their better performing managers. I was doing a really good job. My departments were doing good. I was a second in command of one of these big box retail stores. I wanted to become a store manager. And they said, you can't because you don't have a college degree. So at 20 some years old, my late 20s, after performing in the job industry for 5-6 years for driving top-notch results. In order for me to advance, I had to go get a college degree. And this was 20 years ago. And then I went back as an adult, got my degree, didn't make me any smarter, didn't make me do my job any better. Then I was able to advance. And this has just embedded itself in our society. College degree is the least predictive thing about intelligence or success. I mean, I would rather take somebody who was self-made, who learned things, who did things, rather than some idiot fresh out of college that's never had a job. This credentialism has to go.
Yeah, and I'm trying to find the tweet that we shared earlier, Jason, but the graphic of like states with the most educated people are voting Democrat. States with, I'll say, the least educated, it means you didn't go to college, has nothing to do with your education levels. Might it just be that when you go to college to get educated and credentials, you're simply getting brainwashed and fed in propaganda? Like, you are going to school for indoctrination purposes. That's all that means. Now, outside of the hard sciences, yes, I want my doctors to go through rigorous schooling so that they can perform surgery on me, diagnose an illness. I want my pilots well certified and educated. But when we talk about most people that go to college, they're not doing that. They're getting their soft sciences, their humanities, and you're getting brainwashed. That's it. It doesn't make you smarter. Okay,
this
Jason,
is
I found...
Here's another great comment. I instantly lost my anguish when Trump won. I never have to hear Kamala cackle again. We should grab the video. This morning they're talking about Kamala on the Supreme Court, which, if you go back to our episode where we were talking about who they replaced Joe Biden with, and I said they got to get rid of Kamala, but they got to come up with a spot for her. So I said I could see her going to the Supreme Court.
Because Kamala's done. If she doesn't go in the Supreme Court, she is finished. Like, Hillary got speaking fees. Biden got paid a lot when he was out of office between 16 and 20. Kamala Harris is not getting invited anywhere to talk after this. Like, she is donezo. Yeah, it would be interesting to see if they did that. But then I wonder why. Like, why do they have to give Kamala anything? You ran for office. You were unpopular. Nobody likes you. Short of being a middle finger to the American public like that, or just getting a devout leftist on the court, like, they don't really care who's on the court as long as they just toe the leftist party line. But seems like they could just get rid of Kamala forever and that'd be fine too.
It's funny you say that too, because I never really thought about that. Like, what are they excuse me, what are they going to do with Kamala? She's an idiot.
Yeah.
Like Obama at least is a smooth talker, and Hillary is good at making people commit suicide. I don't know what Hillary's good at. Yeah. But Kamala, like, what are they going to do to get her payoff? Like, is anybody going to listen to her? I mean, are you in some big company and like, let's pay Kamala $500,000 to come speak to our people? I don't even understand.
I just don't see that happening. Yeah. I think if I'm a Democrat Party, I want to get rid of her entirely. We don't want to remember that she was around and ran for president and was vice president. Like, if you put her on the Supreme Court, you're always going to be reminded. That's why I voted for Trump, because they thought she was a good idea.
Right. Oh my God. And just a couple sharp comments here. Dee Dee, my daughter is college educated and voted for Trump. I explained it's a state issue now, and it undermined their entire narrative. I'm going to say this is me having hopium. I think having it as a states' rights issue is good. We live in Minnesota. I vehemently disagree with what we have for an abortion law. Other states have different laws. I'm hoping in 4 years, it isn't even an issue. You know what I mean? Todd, do you think we could actually live in that world?
Well, I think in 4 years, when Trump doesn't do a national abortion ban, he's said repeatedly it's a states issue. I got it back to the states. I'm done. Donald Trump is done with it. The left, the media, they'll still try to be like, oh, it's coming up any second now. Look at this state's trying to do a Trump abortion ban. But Donald Trump won't touch it at the national level. He's already promoting IVF, and that killed their narrative. Kamala tried to connect into Project 2025 and say, oh, they want to get rid of IVF. So when those two things don't happen, they're going to try to make abortion an issue because it feeds into that white liberal Democrat voting base, the most deluded people on the planet. But I think people are going to see through it. They're like, well, he didn't do it this time. So now Trump's been president twice. He never banned abortion. They'll probably try to tie J.D. Vance to it. Like, well, J.D. Vance will because he's more extreme than Trump. But I like to think that most people will just move on. He's like, it's at the states. I live in Minnesota. I live in Alabama. We have two different laws. Whatever. It's at the states. So I am optimistic, cautiously optimistic, that abortion just won't be an issue because it can't be an issue. Like, how much can they lie to you again about these things that are not real?
Right. And then I had to go look up who commented this. Tammy Vincent. I'll get the last name wrong, Tammy. I apologize. But Dela Jose, I'm really butchering that. Poor Sonny, a so-called uneducated white woman here. I have no college education, work to support myself and my family. I have never depended on the government to save me. I've worked 45 plus years and been asked to pay for these people who have carried this country, have had enough. Like, Tammy is the American dream. You work hard, you raise a family, you just want stuff affordable. Most of us, to be honest, I would rather not be on here talking about how corrupt our government is. I would just wish they would make sure the roads were built and the nation was secure and we move on with life. But like, most Americans really don't want to care about this stuff, but we have to, because you are all so inept.
Yeah, I would love to not talk politics or think politics every day and just have a normal job. I love what we do, Jason. If this show didn't have to exist, the world would be a better place. But it is the ladies on The View, it is the political establishment, it is the media that make it an issue. They make us have to care. And you know what? I'm tired of being quiet anymore. And people on X push back, Americans push back. They said, we're done with this too.
Yeah, and then just Carrie brought up a great thing too. It's interesting how the Amish voted for Trump. They've always had their own way of living, keeping themselves separate from the world, but Biden's policies affected them. What's interesting, we talked about the squirrel, right? That got killed in New York, where some lady called and complained and they showed up and whatnot. Unreported, that's what happened with the Amish. So the Amish, if you have any Amish communities or Mennonites or that kind of thing, they like live organically. They kind of do their own thing. The government went in and raided some dude's house that was growing organic farms and milk and livestock. And that's one of the things that really pissed off the Amish, is like, why on earth are government regulators coming in here on a farm that we're going to sell in our community to different people? That's what really motivated them. And honestly, Scott Pressel was smart enough to recognize that, go register everybody. And that may have been the difference in Trump winning or losing Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it is crazy. Jason, we are coming up on an hour. I have a super clip of just media doing its thing.
Let's do it.
I think that'll be a good way for us to end here as we head over to the Rumble only section next. So we will be wrapping up on Facebook and YouTube. The show is not over. We're just getting started because things get really interesting on Rumble and X only. So folks, if you're still watching on Facebook right now, while we play the video, find the Rumble app, download it, go to your desktop browser, head over to the Rumble channel, The American Tribune, because we're just getting started. But here is our super clip.
Would a second Donald Trump term look like?
Well, he cannot be the next president because if he is...
You can't imagine the things that he's going to do. Mexico, Canada. We can't go to Canada because eventually Canada will become annexed to America.
And shoot visitors to the White House. Yeah, that means he can shoot the First Lady.
We're going to see violence, the likes of which we didn't even see on January 6th.
Make it illegal to run against him, to throw his opponents in jail, to shut down the media.
He will make himself into the Fuhrer, and he will make everybody raise their hand and salute him.
Using martial law against the American people.
Terminate the Constitution.
To rewrite the Constitution.
Create mass internment camps.
Throw everyone into Gitmo.
Might be sent to jail, or their rights might be suppressed, especially minority groups in society.
You might have any number of things happen to you and your family.
Every one of us, our freedom, our liberty, none of us is safe.
It's going to have people around him executing against an enemy's list.
Assassinate generals.
Ordering troops to attack American citizens.
Trump's very well-armed and extremist base will try to kill people.
He's going to basically burn the house down.
He will unravel the institutions of our democracy.
Draw similarities between Mussolini and Hitler.
Adolf Hitler and Benito Mussolini.
Makes Donald Trump even more dangerous.
Wants to take away your vote. Senate and the House are immediately going to be paralyzed.
People will begin in minds to censor themselves. They might say, well, maybe I shouldn't say this.
This is the end of democracy.
I think that could be the end of our democracy.
But democracy is dead if Trump is reelected.
Cozy up to Putin that democracy will be at risk.
The absolute destruction of the Justice Department as we know it.
The Justice Department could be entirely transformed.
I am really concerned about that.
Every person who was associated with the attempted coup elevated his administration.
If he's reelected, he will curb transgender rights.
The end of the rule of law.
Arrest political opponents.
To persecute, not prosecute,
persecute, but persecute his enemies.
Take a wrecking ball to the rule of law.
He's going to make the law. Everyone else will have to follow.
Vote for Donald Trump may mean the last election that you ever get to vote in.
To go after the independent and free parts of American civic life.
He would tear down our institutions.
Purge the government of employees.
Department by department effort to weaponize the powers of the government.
To use the military to quash protests.
Ridding the government of all democratic safeguards.
Junking American democracy as we have always known it.
That he would try to stay in office beyond a second term. That he would never leave office.
There's no question.
Trump is reelected, he won't leave.
Donald Trump will never leave office voluntarily.
And what that means is that everybody who wants us to remain a republic has to put every other thing aside and work together urgently right now to.
Oh my God.
Have you ever seen more insane people thought?
All lies. They must know they're lies. Some of them probably believe it, but again, we got the receipts. In 4 years, when none of this happens, will they admit they were wrong? Will Democrat voters finally wake up and say, you know what, I've been lied to, and now I realize that. I'm going to go vote for that Republican candidate. But it is off the charts what they're able to say. And I think we had a comment in here. A, they're projecting most of the time. And B, they're just straight up lying if it's not projection.
I gotta say, as we wind up the Facebook, YouTube part of the show, that's going to be my final thought. I mean, my first, well, two final thoughts. One, we've been talking about the Uniparty for a long time. And the fact that you have Kamala Harris and Liz Cheney on the same stage, folks, if you need to see what the Uniparty looks like, if you need to understand that the establishment Republican Party hates you, you just saw it. Okay? Don't forget that. Mitt Romney hates you. Mitch McConnell hates you. Kevin McCarthy hates you. They hate you, right? The second thing, though, is I want to talk about this politicization because we touched on it earlier. And just to kind of leave this kind of where I land on this, Republicans, President Trump needs to live by the same rules that he and his followers have lived under, right? He doesn't. If you look, the thing Trump's been convicted of, they had to change the law, and then legal scholars, many, not all, have said that like those charges shouldn't have even been brought. The lawsuit against President Trump about the valuation that he lost, and they said he lied about it. The Court of Appeals is going to reverse that in the next week or two. Like, I saw the hearing that they had about that, and they didn't like that case being brought. Those people then, Letitia James and the people that brought these cases, they need to be held liable to the same level of scrutiny that President Trump was. We're not asking for Republican, DOJ, or anything to do anything more than what was done to President Trump.
Yep. And you know what? If you were seeking 20 years for prison for Donald Trump because he made up some evaluation of his property, Letitia James, you can get those 20 years. Again, we're not going above and beyond. We're not doing political retribution. We're just holding Democrats accountable to the same laws. Great point, Jason. If I can get a closing word in, it's going to be a little self-serving here. And then, folks, we're heading over to Rumble. Rumble is where we're trying to build our community. The American Tribune is our mothership. That's where we host this podcast. If you're on Facebook right now, we're still going live. Head over to the American Tribune. I'm rocking a hat, the American Tribune Live with Todd Peterson. That is a separate channel. I do 2 shows a week right now at 9:30 Central, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Head over to Rumble right now. Make sure to like the show. Make sure to follow the channels. But Jason, I think let's take a 60-second break. Let's let all of our Facebook audience head on over, and then let's get back into this.
We'll see you on the flip side, folks.